All right, well, hello, good morning, and welcome to the second session in our TrendSoft user group event. My name is Bobby Haggard, and I'm one of the consultants here at TrendSoft. Let's first make sure everyone is logged into the correct session. You've tuned into this session titled IT Cloud Security, What You May Not Know. In this session, we'll be covering several topics around IT offerings, IT assessment, and more. Now, a little bit of housekeeping notes before we jump in. First, we went ahead and muted all of the phone lines, trying to keep down on some of that background noise. If you have a question, which we absolutely encourage, then please use the Q&A feature of the Zoom webinar tool. Our team will be managing and monitoring those questions throughout the presentation, and we'll have a little bit of time at the end of this session to answer your questions. Now, if you have a question that you don't feel comfortable submitting through the Q&A tool, or you'd like to take offline, then please just reach out to your TrendSoft technical team or myself, and we'll be happy to set up a call to review those questions with you. Secondly, if you would like the presentation slides or the video recording, just drop your email into the Q&A. We'll know exactly what that means. And once those are available, we'll have those sent your way as well. Finally, don't forget, at the conclusion of this session, you will receive an evaluation. If you fill out that evaluation, you'll be registered for our giveaway, which we will announce a winner of next week. All right, with that, let's go ahead and jump right in. So as you saw upon registering for this user group event, there are a couple of additional sessions noted here. If you missed our morning session that focused on GP and the cloud, don't worry, we recorded that presentation and we'll get that posted soon for you guys. If you have not had a chance to register for our next session at 1, please visit our website, trendsoft.com, and register, where we'll be going over the latest in the latest release with Business Central. All right, before we get started, let's quickly hit on who we are as TrendSoft. As I can see, there are a couple of new names on the attendee list. So we were founded in 1996, and we've since achieved the highest level of Microsoft certification available, being recognized as a gold certified Microsoft ERP partner. For the last several years, we've been recognized by Accounting Today as one of the top 100 VARs, or value-added resellers, within the industry. Currently have about 200 or so clients in roughly 17, 18 states. And throughout our 25 plus years of existence, we've been able to create and develop some pretty structured processes for installations and projects that have helped our clients to be more efficient by saving them time, money, and other resources along the way. We are experts in Microsoft's business platform, and we do all things related to ERP installations, project management, general support, upgrades and migrations, customizations, reporting, online learning databases, automation, integration, and much, much more. When you partner with TrendSoft, we provide access to an online support database with training courses and our online Jira support desk and much more. All right, let's jump into this session for this IT breakdown. I'd again like to introduce Matt Wood. Matt is our Dynamics Director and Team Lead, and Matt has been working with Dynamics for over 11, 12 years, and has lots of great experience with Dynamics GP, NAV, Business Central, Power BI, IT, and more. And so at this time, I'm going to hand the presentation over to Matt. Matt, you can take it away.
Microsoft IT Cloud Security Assessment. This will be a pretty quick session, but we did want to introduce you guys to what TrendSoft offers as far as IT services and an assessment that we have for our clients, or for organizations that would just like to kind of get a view of what their security is. So our agenda, we are going to introduce TrendSoft IT services. We are going to take a look at what our TrendSoft IT Cloud Security Assessment involves, and then we'll talk a bit about next steps. As I said, a lot of information on these slides, but we're going to kind of run through them quickly and just give you a kind of 10,000 foot view of what we're going to do with these. First of all, let's talk about our IT services. So we do have, maybe some of you guys don't know, you know us as Dynamics. We do offer some IT services as well, mainly focusing on cloud IT. So we're not going to be looking to support local printers or things like that, or do your internal networking. That's not what our services involve. It's more cloud related, and cloud related in the Microsoft umbrella. So basically anything about anything that Microsoft offers in the cloud world, we do provide services for and can help you with that. So that includes, this is limited, we do additional things here, but the main things are Office 365 licensing. So all your needs for Office 365 or Microsoft 365 kind of interchangeable as I talk through these. So that'd be your Excels, your Outlooks, things like that. We do provide licensing for that. We can help you know what license you need. Do you have too much? Do you have too little? And how to best use the licenses that you have. We also do 365 migrations. So if you're coming from an on-prem Outlook, let's say, or you have a file server that you're having to maintain, maybe you're on Gmail and you want to go to Outlook, we do offer migrations for that. And the way those work is we'll kind of scope those out and say, here's what we're going to do, and get you moved over to 365. Specifically on the file servers, we can help you go from an on-prem file server to SharePoint, OneDrive, even Teams as well. We also offer, as part of that Office 365 licensing, is Teams. If you're not familiar with that, that's a way to have messaging. It's kind of like a Slack, but it also has phone capabilities as well. We internally only use Teams for our phones, so we can help you with that as well. We also offer Azure hosting. So that's Microsoft's hosting environment. We can help you get moved to that. And this doesn't have to just be Dynamics. I know some of you probably use us for that. But we can host any of your applications up in Azure. Along with that, we have the Azure Virtual Desktop. That's a new tool that allows you to access your hosted apps easily. It makes it feel more like a local feel. For example, here I can show you. Here's what that would look like, and you can see you can have any app basically hosted up in the Azure, and then have that accessible for your users. And it's a local feel. So, for example, here's GP. If I open that up, I feel like I'm on my local machine, but this is actually hosted in Azure, accessing it through an Azure Virtual Desktop. And then lastly, I'll mention cloud managed services. So you've probably heard of managed services, IT managed services, where you're paying kind of a per device price per month. And then that service is provided, if something goes wrong, then you have that already covered with your managed services. So we do offer that with the cloud managed services. And that would include basically everything you're seeing there. Plus, we'll manage your onboarding, offboarding processes. We can provide hardware that we can then access and quickly get your users up to speed as well. So that one is kind of a full everything involved. Plus, we provide the support needed to support those cloud apps that you may have, as well as some of the hardware that you can use to make that work. So that's just a quick introduction on our services. So the next piece here is I'm going to talk about this for this session, for the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to talk about our cloud security assessment. And what this is we've kind of put together a list of 15 things that we're looking to check for our clients, or maybe not our clients. But the idea here is we're looking at your cloud applications, whether that's Office, Azure, your disaster recovery, those types of things. And then we're going to identify any security threats or holes, gaps where you may need to address them. At the end of that process, we will provide a document for you to review. That's going to, here, we went through these things. Here's what we found. Here's what we think you can do to make your security a little bit better. Because we do know, no matter how good the security that you have, even some of the largest organizations have found that, they've had breaches in their environments. And the idea behind this is we know we can't stop every threat, but we can set you up where you're not down weeks, maybe you're down a day if something happens, and we're going to stop, as many of those as we can as we look through these processes and using the tools that Microsoft has available to us. All right, so we're going to kind of go through each of these steps, and I will talk through. Now, I'm definitely not the IT expert. You'd be working more with Brett and Shane here on these as we go through them, but I did want to just give you an introduction to what we'll be doing and talk through each of these. So we'll go through this. We also have a document we can provide you after the call that'll walk through each of these as well. But the idea here, again, is we're going to go through these 15 steps. I'll talk through what each of these are and why we do them. And then at the end of that process, we'll give you that document and say, here's what you can do to improve your security. So the first thing we're going to do is look at your Microsoft Secure Score. You can see those 3 bullet points there, what it does. But basically what Microsoft has is you can go out, run a process, and it'll give you a score. And the higher the score, obviously, the better your security is. This will give us just a good baseline of where your organization's current security is. And from there, then it will provide suggestions of how you improve your score. And then you can have benchmarks that you set up and KPIs to follow those. So that's what that is. Gives us a nice baseline to see where your current security is sitting. Next one we'll look at is your Microsoft Office 365 user roles and groups. So again, are you utilizing roles and groups? Are you using those in a way that makes it efficient as you onboard and offboard people to make sure that you're giving the correct security to the correct users? And groups and roles just make that easier to organize. So rather than having a list of 100 users that you have to deal with, now we maybe have 5 groups that we're putting users into, and we can control that security much better in those roles and groups. The other thing we're going to be looking at here is, are all your active users actually active? So what we found a lot of times when we do this is we get the list of active users, we send them off to you, and you say, okay, are all these people active? And a lot of the times they're not. So you have people that are no longer with the company that still have active licensing within 365. That's a couple issues with that. One, you're paying for a license you don't need. So you're paying for something that no one's using. And also, it's just a security issue to have active users that no longer are with the company. They could log in and get access to things they shouldn't, and you have another user out there that someone else could breach. So that's what we're going to check there. Then we're going to look at your 365 licensing. Are you taking advantage of your licensing? Are you using all the features that your licensing provides you? And then are there additional licensing that could make you more secure? For example, there's a security add-on that we could add that takes attachments, for example, moves them into a container that's not on your network, opens them, verifies that there's no malicious activity with them, and then brings them back in and lets your users open them. So that's just one example of things that we would find and say, okay, here, if you add this license, you're going to bring tenfold on your attachments that are coming through. And we know a lot of the phishing or the issues where you get you get the crypto walls or whatever those are, that one add-on could help solve a lot of those issues. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at your PureView compliance portal. So this is just, again, it's similar to your Microsoft Defense score here. Just another portal that you can go to that shows some of the information that's coming in and out and how that's worked. So we're going to look at that. We're also going to look at conditional access policies. So this is a nice tool. You can see there what I said on the bullet point. It's basically if-then statement. So if a user wants access to a resource, then they must complete this action. The example there, payroll manager wants access to the payroll application, and it's required to do multi-factor authentication to access it. So what it allows you to do is you've got these apps up in the cloud. It allows you to say, maybe we need stricter security for this app versus this app. And when a user tries to access this is what they need to do to be able to access it. All right, we're going to then look at the Intune mobile device management. So this is a tool by Microsoft, and it's for mobile devices. So it allows you to set up security on mobile devices, specifically on stuff that's going to be coming into your network. For example, if you only want Office to be accessed, Office Online to be accessed through the apps instead of through Safari, you can set that up on these Intune mobile devices. We can keep people off of malicious sites and things like that. So what that allows us to do is company-owned mobile devices, we can then secure those down by installing this Intune mobile device manager. Next, we're going to look at your remote infrastructure. So if you already have some infrastructure, maybe you're using a VPN, maybe you do have some cloud hosted things that you're doing, we're going to review that, make sure that's set up efficiently. that the security on that's good, that your VPN's not causing you trouble, things like that. We're going to review that with you and make sure that's all good. Disaster recovery. So again, this is a big one. We just want to make sure you have a disaster recovery plan. So we're going to discuss that with you. Are you taking backups? Have you tested those backups? Do you have backups off-site? Do you do cloud backups? Are you taking advantage of everything that you could take advantage of with your licensing to get those backups done? What we want is a plan that if something were to happen, you get a breach, you actually have like a fire or a flood or whatever it may be, we want that recovery plan to have you back up in hours and not back up in weeks. If you remember the pipeline that got hit, it was weeks before they got back up because they didn't have a great disaster recovery plan. A few more to go. We're going to look at role-based access control policies. That's similar to what I talked about earlier on the access control, but we're going to make sure that we have those set up as roles too. So again, we don't want to manage 1,000 users when we could be managing 10 roles. So that's what we're going to look at there. We're also going to take a look at your on-prem and Azure Active Directory sync. Make sure that we can have a nice sync between your on-prem and Azure Active Directory so that you're not managing two different things. You've got a sync, so as you add a user on-prem, it syncs up to your Azure Active Directory as well. We're going to look at the single sign-on usage. So this is for an app that you may have, and if you've used these before where maybe I have 5 different programs I'm logging into, and I have 5 different username and passwords. So what we're looking to do is see what the apps that have single sign-on available to make it easier so your users don't have to keep track of a bunch of different passwords. As they log in to those 5 different apps, they'll all be the same password and username, and those are synced up through the Active Directory. Then we got some password stuff, so we're going to look at multi-factor authentication, legacy authentication, and password policy. So multi-factor, obviously, you've seen those a lot now. You've got an app on your phone, you get texted, you get an email with a code, but it does add a nice layer of security, and we want to make sure that's turned on at least for our most sensitive users that have the most access to our networks. But we probably want to lay that out across the board. That is a really good way to keep users safe. We're going to make sure that legacy authentication is no longer being used, or if it's used, for what reason. And then for, again, password policies. Are your passwords secure enough? Are they expiring at a rate that's best practice? All right, last 3 here. We're going to look at configuration for the Azure AD identity protection. So this is something that Microsoft's got out there with the 365 licensing that allows you to take advantage of some of their machine learning. They've got, I think I saw something like in the trillions worth of data coming in on a daily basis that they then their machines learn, okay, this is from a security risk. And you can configure that so that your organization also takes advantage of that. Even, one big thing about the Azure world and the 365 world is you can get enterprise level security tools at a pretty affordable price for the mid-sized and even small businesses. So you can take advantage of all of Microsoft's abilities, and that's what this one is. So are we configuring that identity protection to take advantage of what Microsoft offers us in machine learning that they've already done? We just configure it. We're going to look at your Microsoft Defender. This is just Microsoft's antivirus setup, so we're going to make sure that you've got it configured correctly and that you're using it to the best of its ability. And then finally, we're going to look at the current cloud-hosted virtual machine architecture. Again, if you've got cloud-hosted, can we make that more efficient? Can we bring costs down for you where you might be, you're using resources that you don't need to be using, or you could be powering things off and powering things on and taking advantage of what Azure has to offer there. So at the end of all of this, so we'll go through those 15 steps. We've got a template that we'll work through. We'll provide you a document that says, here we checked everything. Here's what we found on this step. Here's what we found on this step. Here are some recommendations for how you can fix those. Here's some plans of action to make those better. As far as next steps for us here, if you're interested in something like this, we have a couple different ways, and you can get touch with Tara and Bobby on this. If you'd be willing to move your Office 365 licensing to us, we will do this for free. If not, we do offer this on a one-off basis as well. So if that's something you're interested in, it's really you might spend a little bit of money, but you can save yourselves a lot at the end of the day, because we could stop a breach there by just going through these 15 steps pretty quickly, and potentially find some areas where you're vulnerable, and we can solve that before you do get that breach and you're down for weeks because we didn't catch that. So if you're interested, Tara and Bobby, I'll be happy to help you with this. Of course, our IT team, Brett and Shane, will be performing that, and they can definitely help you guys out as you go through this. All right, Bobby, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Matt, for that great information about, TrendSoft IT services and the assessment. We now, again, have a few minutes here for questions. So if you have a question, absolutely drop that into the Q&A. I know that we've answered some of those along the way. As we've discussed previously, if you would like the video recording, drop your email into the Q&A, as I see that several people have done already, and we'll get that sent to you as well. So I do see a couple of questions that are coming in or that have come in previously. One is just about Office 365 licensing in general. Does TrendSoft offer licensing for Office 365? We absolutely do. One of the nice things that we're able to offer is that we are a Microsoft cloud partner, and we are a gold partner with Microsoft. So we actually have a dedicated rep. So if there are any questions around licensing, anything that's confusing, or if there's just questions where we need to call out, we have a dedicated resource at Microsoft that we can go directly to. A similar follow-up question that often comes in is what is the process of moving a license? Say we purchase directly from Microsoft or another IT vendor. It's really straightforward. Our team can walk you straight through that. It's pretty much TrendSoft will get the licensing in place that mimics your current licensing, and then we would just stop billing with your current provider. So if that's something you want to talk about or walk through with us, just let us know. We'll be happy to have that conversation with you as needed. As Matt mentioned, if you are interested in moving your Office 365 licensing to our TrendSoft umbrella, we do this IT assessment free of charge for you. For those of you who are asking about the IT assessment, it says, are we required to do all of the recommendations or next steps? Absolutely not. This is obviously your environment. These would just be best practices and findings that we would come up with, our team would come up with. Nothing is obviously required. There's no written commitment coming out of that assessment. It is really truly just truly that it's an assessment for you to know where you stand and kind of what the best practices are within the industry there. And some questions people say, with this IT assessment, can we have somebody actually come on site and actually walk through this with our team? Absolutely. Our team would be happy to come on site, walk through that with you, even sit, in the same office, same room, kind of walk through that together. So if you have somebody on your IT staff that, may not be as experienced and would just like a little bit of, hey, let's walk through this together, we can absolutely do that for you as well. And then, as Matt mentioned, I think, this assessment, even if you're looking to do it as a one-off assessment and be paid for, I think that is the type of investment that's a small investment up front for a potential big saving down the road. If you think about any type of hack or malware or, ransomware that could take place, a small investment up front to make sure you have multi-factor authentication or any of those other types of solutions in place to help prevent fraud or scam are just a really nice upfront savings that you can do to really prevent some long-term, downtime, corruption of data, business cycle, breaks, those types of things. So, all right, let's see if there are any other questions that have come in. Again, if you have that question or if you have any questions, be sure to drop those into Q&A. We'll definitely get those answered for you. Again, if you want your a recording or of the presentation slides, drop your email in. We have several of those received as well. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions, so we'll jump here to kind of next steps. And that is first, as we wrap this session, first, be sure that you complete your session evaluation prior to the end of the day, Monday. So that gives you a couple of days to get that survey completed, and that will get you entered into the drawing for our giveaways. Secondly, if you have any questions or if any support needs come up, or you have further interest in the assessment, or would like to just talk to TrendSoft further, please reach out to myself, Tara, or any of your technical resources, and we'll get connected with you. We'll be happy to engage to understand, how to better use your systems, how to better protect your systems as well. Thirdly, give us a follow on any of the social media platforms at Twitter, at TrendSoft on Twitter, or on Facebook, on LinkedIn. We're constantly posting news updates, release information, webinar information throughout the social media world. And so give us a follow on any or multiple of those platforms so that you can stay kind of in tune with what's going on. And then finally, visit our website, trendsoft.com. We have a blog there where we're constantly, again, pushing out updates and information and content that is shared there. So just give us a bookmark there on that blog. With that, we want to wrap this session, this IT review session. Certainly, thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for being clients, and we look forward to continuing working with each of you. If there are any questions about the assessment, about best practices within the space, please reach out to us. We'll get you connected to our IT admins, and you'll be in great hands. So with that, we certainly thank everyone for your time, and I hope everyone has a great lunch. Thanks.